Good morning. Yeah, be kind to yourself. Smile a little bit. Have fun. This is World Kindness Day. It's not a World Funeral Day. Come on. So the beginning with kindness in itself, when we talk about world kindness, I think oftentimes we're talking about all these things we need to do for one another, for ourselves, but we tend to forget the very first word. It says world. How kind are we to this world we are in? So yes, you can be kind to one another, you can be kind to yourselves, but we must not forget that we have to be kind to this Mother Earth. We have to be. I come from the Igbo ethnic group of Southeast Nigeria, where I come from. We have this interesting saying about our relationship to the world, to the earth, that our children do not inherit this from us. We have borrowed it from them. And I'll say it again because it's a mindset. That our children do not inherit the earth from us. We have borrowed it from them. And when you understand that dynamic of thought, then you begin to understand how you have to relate to this thing that we call life. When it is not yours, when we have borrowed it from the generations to come, then it is not ours. It never was ours. But if they are to inherit from us, then that means we plunder, we squander whatever is left they get. It's a whole different mindset. And I think the kindness to the world, the kindness to Mother Earth starts from that change of thought, to understand that this was never ours in the first place, to plunder, to squander, and then whatever is left behind, we bequeath to the generations unborn. It was never ours, never will be, and so we must treat this place, this space, this time as borrowed. So, that was heavy, and I thought this was going to be more fun, You see, when I was told to speak, or when I was asked if I would speak, I said yes, and then I was told, can you send a photo, And of course, if you're going to be a keynote speaker, you have to look for a photo that makes you look important. And so actually, this was not the one I sent. The one they have in the program, you see me wearing a tie, standing behind a chair, looking like, So you got to do that. And then they said, slides. I said, oh yeah, that's true. You also have to, you're a keynote speaker, you have to have slides. Now, how many slides should you have? And I put them together and I had 12 slides. And I said, let's add one more. So I had the first slide, repeated this first slide as my last slide. So I have 13 slides to show you. Wow, that's important. And then they said, dress code is business casual. Oh, I said, here I go again. Okay, what does that mean? So I remember, I said, let me do a Steve Jobs, I said, and I wear glasses, that would make me look, really, really, really good up here. And I saw my friend, hi, buddy. And then I saw Niels, and he said, yeah, you look like a rock star. I said, ooh, I nailed it, But all of this is to say that when we wake up in the morning, we wake up into the world of art and culture practice. Right from the time we are born and we are screaming that we don't want to be here, and then the mother begins to sing to us or to whisper to us. We begin to hear some of these soothing things around us that calm us down and make us feel that it's okay. And that's why we have lullabies and all of these things that we encounter as children, as infants, that calm us, that give us a sense of center, a sense of safety, a sense of place and grounding. That is art. That is art. But oftentimes, as we grow and we begin to get on with life. We begin to allow art and art practice and cultural practice to be redefined by textbooks. And so the artist is somebody who is doing X, Y, Z, and no longer us, because we are engineers, we are software developers, we are rocket scientists, and so we are not artists. And you ask somebody, and I'm sure if I ask who is an artist here, everybody's going to be wondering what I'm talking about, unless you're a painter, a dancer, an actor, a photographer, video, whatever it is, then you are an artist. But one of my professors used to say, the artist is not a special kind of person. Every person is a special kind of artist. And so you are. The fact that you wake up in the morning and pick out your shoes and color of clothing and all of that stuff, it is part of your daily routines. The fact that you sing in the shower and nobody wants to hear you sing anymore is still okay. You're still a singer. The fact that music moves you, the fact that you bob your head and nod to something soothing, the fact that you behold a television program, a film, a photograph, a painting, the fact that you can doodle or do whatever, that is you expressing your innermost self. That is where you encounter yourself. That is where you are in tune with your truth. That is art. It's just as somebody else is calling something within a discipline of sort. And so today, on this sacred day, I call it, because when we're talking about being kind to this Mother Earth and being kind to one another, I decided to invoke in you that which you encountered even before you could speak. That which you encountered that calmed you, that gave you that soft center, that feeling of placement, of belonging. Because that's where it starts. We live in a so-called society today that has become so polarized. There is this constant battle about who is right and who is right. And there is this thing about it is my way or no way at all. And every conflict in this world, in our history as human beings, has always been as a result of somebody believing that their own way is the only way. There is never another option. And so if I'm a Christian, you must be a Christian or you are dead. If I'm a Muslim, you must be a Muslim or you are dead. I mean, there are two ways about conversations these days. If you're in the so-called red state or blue state, and I mean, everything has become so polarized. And there is nothing else. It's either it is my way of thinking or no way at all. And it is in these moments of chaos, if you will, where we must go back and ask ourselves, what is this nonsense all about in the first place? What is this shouting match about? What is all of this thing that has driven us so far away from our center, from our core, from our shared humanity? What is it all about in the first place? And it is in these moments, it is in these particular spaces that art and cultural practice come to play. The last number of years have been very challenging with the global pandemic, with all the things that have been happening, the natural disasters and all of that, and presently the wars and everything going on, that it has created a feeling of fear, of angst. You cannot trust your neighbor. You don't know who your neighbor voted for, didn't vote for. You don't know if this is the same neighbor that went to bed and still believes what you believe in or not. And there's just all of this stuff. And so we carry these burdens ourselves because we no longer can trust, we no longer can share, because we don't want to be vulnerable, we don't want to say the wrong thing or the right thing at the wrong time. We don't know who to talk to because something is no longer there. The natural bond is no longer there. It is in those moments, it is in those tiny spaces of discontent where our voices can no longer find words because they're dried up in the cries of just the silent, forgotten. The tears have dried up because we've been crying all night and yet we smile all day. It is in those moments that art practice gives us voice. Because that's when we invite one another to a shared path. It is in those moments that art and cultural practice can be affirmed and can bring us together as human beings. Because if I start tapping my feet now, I'm not speaking a specific language, but I bet each and every one of you could probably join in that rhythm and we flow with it. If I begin to clap and everyone begins to clap together, then somehow we begin to sync our humanity. Whether it's on the wall or art off the wall, whether it's art on stage or art off stage, whether it's moving image or still image, whether it's molding or movement, whether it's singing or sculpting, art and cultural practice in and of itself allows us to be transported outside of space, beyond time, across cultures, where we can find commonalities and shared emotions. Is in that magic moment that we can connect on a whole different level. And I believe that we should stop this whole notion of putting art somewhere and going to pick it back up. We should, as a matter of principle, ensure that whether in high tech or in government, in education, in play or work, that we go back and bring back some of those basic things that we encountered when we were first born. Those things that really, really speak to our shared humanity. I know this to be true because when I've had CEOs and software engineers and all of them and put them in a room and they think we're here to talk business, and all of a sudden I bring out drums and give each one of them, and they're looking and say, what am I doing with this stuff? Give them 15 minutes and you see children playing. And they throw all that stuff off and they become kids once again. And they play and they laugh and they make fun of each other and of themselves, and they play and they play and they play. And when they get back to that boardroom, it's a whole different conversation. I've seen this in war-torn zones of the world where we have arranged, instead of having come sit at the table and let's have peace talks, we infuse elements of art participatory practices. And we leave them there. And in an hour or two, or a day or two or three, you come back and they've forgotten that they were at war outside those doors. And they're running around, scribbling together, laughing together, and they go back, and all of a sudden, they can no longer push that button to bomb that person because you just shared humanity with them. This we must make sure we take seriously. Because oftentimes we call people to the table and say, sit down and let's talk about racism. Who is going to come to that conversation? Come, let's watch a film. Come, let's paint. In that minute, in that circle, all of a sudden, they just begin to share. And they become, and they do, and they see, and they feel. And when they leave, they're never the same. We must make sure that we bring this thing front and center. Just last week, or was it the week before, not far from here, I don't know how many of you heard what happened in the school district not far from here about some dark-colored dolls hung in a school district barely a few miles from here. This is Silicon Valley. This is 2022. This is what we are still dealing with. So we still live in a world that needs kindness. But we have forgotten where we all started. We have forgotten the basics. And so we are getting very, very cerebral about some of the problems our world faces. We are spending billions and billions of dollars going in and out of dialogue and summits and conversations. But we have forgotten that the only way to get people out of these clothes that we wear and these faces that we put on is to get them to the essence of the core, get them to their humanity, and let them connect with another person's humanity. And all of a sudden, they begin to find the way themselves. We cannot prescribe solutions to our world problems. We cannot. We are all endowed with the natural ability to encounter one another in kindness. We just need to unlock that basic stuff. If you don't believe me, put a 2-year-old and another 2-year-old, irrespective of cultures, and just watch them in this room. They look around, they see all of us old folks, they see each other, they just run to each other and they embrace each other. Before you know it, they're playing in the corner. So the question then is, what is it that happens to those two 5, 10, 15 years later? What is it that we infect them with that we are trying to unpack? The only way to do it is to get them back, because they never lose that. It's just that we've layered them with our own infection and we keep piling it on them so that by the time they become teenagers and become adults and all of that, they believe that that is who they are. It is only in bringing them back to the core, bringing them back to just those basics, that you unpeel, unpack. And then all of a sudden, they see that. They see each other. And when people connect at that basic level, when they connect, when their hearts connect, nothing stops it. There is no way you can tell me that you can be in some office somewhere and push a button and control a drone to bomb a village to smithereens and not feel something. When you do know that this is the same person that you played with, it doesn't happen. Somebody will tell you to push that button, but you're going to say, hold on, that's a human being right there. But we live in a world where we've so dehumanized, taking our humanities out of conversations and policy making, decision making, AI, software development, nothing. We are no longer talking about human beings. It's now ones and zeros. And so, for solutions, we stay with the ones and zeros. Art and cultural practice reminds us that we must bring our humanity back into this. We must make sure in our schools, in our boardrooms, in our offices, at work, at home, at play, that we figure this thing out. It's already there. It is already there because the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu talks about Ubuntu, the spirit of Ubuntu. And it's a very simple philosophy to life. It is a philosophy that says that I am because you are. But it doesn't stop there. It says, I am because you are. And since you are, therefore I am. And it means that my identity, my sadness and joy is inherently tied to yours. And it's a cultural thing. And yes, that may not sit well with people from other cultures, but within the traditional African societies, there is a sense of Ubuntu, is an understanding that yes, I may be so, but I can only be me if I know that you are truly you. I cannot say I have succeeded when you are still striving. It is something that emphasizes that we must all look out for one another. It is that mutual understanding of the human bond that we all share. And so my presentation to you today is simply this. It's simply that we must understand that for our world, for us to treat this world with kindness, for us to heal all the discord that we have, the restoration is already there. It lies in each and every one of us already. There is something that we experienced when we first came out into this world. There is something that we continue to experience as we journey from infancy through adulthood. And that something is the thing that grounds us. And if you look at all those elements, all the things that ground us, all the things that connect us to ourselves, they are all very basic and simple. Very basic and simple. It is in the art practice. It is in the culture work. It is in those things that define us. The reason you're wearing blue today instead of red, the reason you're wearing white instead of green, the reason, it's already built into us. But why is it that when it comes to the fundamental things that are so important, we set it aside and pretend like it's not there? And so I've spent a lot of years trying to move in and out of senior management rooms and board suites and all of that, to keep recalling and reminding us that yes, it sounds great to have all the charts and all of that. I went to business school too, we can speak that. But when all is said and done, we need to pull all those curtains down. We need to hit our humanity, because oftentimes that is the piece that is missing. And so we pour money and more money and more money, and then we come back and say it's not working. And we keep doing the same thing over and over again. We must, as a matter of urgency, else we step off the cliff. The world can no longer wait. We must stop. We must reassess. We must make sure, because it is in my giving and your giving that we both rise. There's this whole notion about cultural superiority and all of this stuff, as if one person's culture supersedes another. How could that be so? And I tell my students this every time. You see how Chike is standing right here? There is no person on the face of the planet, no matter how rich you are, that is standing here. You see this spot? I'm standing on it, on this planet. You can be a gazillionaire. You cannot stand in this one spot. You can only stand in your spot. Yes, we can switch places if you want. And if we switch, guess what? I'm standing in mine. And then you're standing in yours. The world has a way of balancing. If you are taller than I am, guess what? I'm shorter than you are. It's 1-1. If you're bigger than I am, guess what? I give you 1 point, but I'm smaller than you are. I got 1 point too. So the world has a way of counterbalancing, and we must understand that. And so in this interesting symbiotic relationship, that is where we find joy. That is where we find ultimate kindness. I had 13 slides for you. I just kept it at that number 1 because it doesn't make sense. We must have fun. We must be kind. Let's remember the lullabies. Let's remember the basic things that always bring smiles to our faces, the sound of children's laughter, the little things of life are all expressed and all here with us. The beautiful colors, the smells, the tapestry of life. That's what enriches all of us. And that is nature's art. That is why we are all co-creators with nature. So let's be kind. Thank you.